Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. Let's talk about the goddess Venus moving through Scorpio. A very interesting journey indeed. Before I started putting some material together, I asked Venus to speak to me through tarot, just through one card. And it never ceases to amaze me when you ask the cosmos, when you ask the divine, when you connect with what is outside of this reality, you you receive very uncanny, corresponding messages to what you're asking. So, with no further ado, the Page of Pentacles. Now, whilst this is not a Venus card necessarily per se, it is a very powerful card for Venus because it's the Pentacles. And the Pentacles is the pentagram, coming from the Greek word pende, meaning five. And as we know, the Venus star points create the pentagram. So it's very interesting to me that this is what Venus wanted me to just briefly touch on before I go into the astrology. So this particular card is about exploring new experiences that ultimately lead you to some kind of mastery and some kind of further enlightenment, if you like. It's the card that will drive you and motivate you to study and learn and leave sort of no stone unturned, which is very much Venus in Scorpio, searching for very different ways in order to be very effective in whatever it is you're actually creating or doing or participating in, and sticking with the issue until it's actually resolved. So there's a sense of dedication and loyalty with this. There's a sense of discipline as well. Discipline is not a word I associate necessarily with Venus at all, really, but in Scorpio and through this card, it is telling us to really focus and allow our confidence to come through as well, kind of roll up our sleeves and get to it, right? And the X-ray vision scope of Venus in Scorpio will help us penetrate beneath the surface layer of what appears. And so we know with what's appearing in the collective at the moment, there's a ton of layers relative to the 3D paradigm. So Venus in Scorpio will begin tomorrow, so the 11th of September, and will be there until it'll be the 10th for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere, the 11th for us in the Southern, and Venus will stay there until the 7th or 8th of October. So it's about a 4-week period. So it's not long, and Venus does go in Scorpio every year. However, relative to the context of what's going on, we are going to explore Venus from that lens and look at the backdrop of the aspects that she picks up, because there's some very, very crucial aspects she's picking up along the way. We also have the goddess Vesta ingressing into Scorpio as well. Now, Vesta and Venus in Libra formed a conjunction not so long ago. So they united and shared something very specific about harmony and balance and law. Now, when Venus is in Scorpio and Vesta ingresses into Scorpio, they will not actually unite and meet up as they did in the sign of Libra. Nevertheless, both Vesta and Venus will be in Scorpio at the same time for about a couple of weeks. And that, I think that's going to be very, very important, especially probably around matters of money and investments, okay? Because Vesta is the goddess of investment, and Scorpio is most certainly an archetype that corresponds to resources and money. And it is also the money that doesn't necessarily belong to us. It can, because it can be an arrangement where we have shared resources, okay? On the other hand, it can also be institutions such as banks and whatever else it may be, where you have investments or shares or those kinds of matters. They become quite prominent over the next, in fact, Vesta will be in Scorpio until I believe it's late October. We'll double check that in a moment, but it's Vesta stays in Scorpio a lot longer than Venus stays in Scorpio. So that's going to be an interesting journey to kind of observe and follow, and particularly noticing where this is occurring in your own birth chart. So where is Scorpio in your chart? That's where Venus will be traveling. And of course, that's where Vesta will be passing through as well. And they're both feminine bodies. They're both goddesses. They both have to do with investing to a certain, well, Vesta is certainly investments. And I suppose Venus is investing from the point of view of she invests in what she loves, right? She gives herself to what she loves. That's what Venus does. She gives and she receives. She's the goddess of pleasure and love, values, sharing, you know, all those sorts of things. In Scorpio, though, there's a few different kind of matters that come up. Now, she's got some sect in Scorpio, even though she's technically, relative to dignities and abilities, Venus in Scorpio is said to be in her detriment or exile. So that just essentially points to Venus not being the most comfortable in that sign, because it's the opposite sign of her rulership, which is Taurus, okay, relative to essential dignities and abilities. But Venus in Scorpio has got incredible strengths, and there's incredible experiences and transformations that can come through Venus in Scorpio. There are a lot of things to kind of be aware of and watch for as well, because matters of control, obsession, manipulation, you know, those sorts of things are traits of the archetype of Scorpio. So I guess, given the nature of reality at the moment as well, that on the best sort of scope of things with Venus in Scorpio, she will enable us to penetrate very, very deeply into the psyche of an individual, for instance, or a situation, or the collective, if you like. It gives us those tools, those penetrative X-ray eyes, eagle eyes, Scorpio, to penetrate very deeply into the matters that we are either engaging with, inquiring about, interested in. Now, that could be money matters, that could be love matters. So it just depends, you know. But generally speaking, when it comes to Venus, it is the planetary body and archetype that takes us through a very personal journey of our own worth, value, love, receiving, giving, and so forth. And of course, our matters of money as well, and the material world to a very large extent. Venus in Scorpio, as I was saying before, she has some sect or reception, because Venus in the sign of Scorpio, whilst she's in her detriment, she has some sect, because Scorpio is a nocturnal sign, right? And Venus is a nocturnal planet. And so that immediately creates this alliance, basically. There's an alliance there with Venus and Scorpio. So she gets there's a benefit, okay, that can come out of that for that reason. This concept of, you know, day planets, night planets, masculine signs, feminine signs, is a very important component of ancient traditional astrology, which is worth understanding and integrating into your understanding of your own chart, or your own practice of astrology for that matter, because there are some very, very distinctive and specific considerations that seem to be very important when you're trying to analyze or understand, you know, a placement in a chart, for instance. So let's bring up the chart and get straight into looking at Venus in Scorpio. Hope you're all doing well, by the way. Needless to say, the most fascinating times of our I feel like it's of our entire human, collective history, but perhaps it's not, but it certainly feels like that. All right, so, that's not the chart that we want, because that's me jumping ahead and looking at some things prior to coming on to record. Okay, there we go. So there's Venus at the moment in Libra at the 29th degree. So basically, in a few hours' time, she'll be in Scorpio. You can see Vesta over there in Libra, so they had their conjunction. And I spoke about that in a previous video, so I won't go back into that again. But I did mention that there would likely be matters of law, fairness, justice, and so forth that would be coming to the forefront quite strongly relative to the current paradigm and the consequences that individuals are encountering based on the choice that they wish to make. Now, I don't need to explain what that is. You all know what I'm saying, right? Okay, so let's just animate the chart so we can see what's going to happen with Venus. Now, by the 11th of September, which is tomorrow, 10th for you guys, Northern Hemisphere, you can see Venus is in Scorpio. What's going to happen is she's going to pick up a trine to, a square to Saturn. That's going to be the first major aspect, and that happens on the 17th of September, which is just a few days after her ingress into Scorpio. I'll unpack this one at a time. I just want to highlight the major sort of dates to be aware of. So the square to Saturn, 17th of September, an opposition to Uranus. Let me just grab. So square to Saturn, then she will pick up an opposition to Uranus. This is probably the biggest highlight of the aspects that she'll pick up. And the reason for that is because, of course, that we've had the Saturn-Uranus square active all year, which is still active at the moment. And we have one more exact square to occur in December, right? And that's obviously the establishment versus the non-establishment, okay, which is the paradigm of what we are seeing at the moment, okay? The systems wanting to maintain control and gain further control, and the pushback around that, okay, on every single level. I don't need to talk about that. We all know about that. The point, though, is that Venus's journey in Scorpio, she's going to be heavily influenced by this Saturn-Uranus. And okay, so let me just first bring up the dates. So as I said, 17th of September, first is the square. Then by the 23rd of September, Venus forms her opposition to Uranus. Then a few days later, she'll pick up a square to Jupiter. She will also, by the 2nd of October, form a sextile to Pluto. That's very helpful. And then lastly, she will, or rather before the sextile to Pluto, she'll form a trine to Neptune, okay, water to water, and Pluto sextile Venus. Sextile is 2 signs, okay, 60 degrees. And those are the major aspects, okay, that we're just going to explore today and look at. And the most striking one, of course, is the Saturn-Uranus square that she picks up through her movement, first through picking up Saturn, squaring it, and then opposing Uranus. And it's pretty obvious what that's going to mean. But perhaps before I unpack those aspects, let's just talk a little bit more about Venus in Scorpio herself, just some of the themes that come up. So Venus in Scorpio literally has X-ray vision. She has incredibly intense, passionate desires. She has incredibly strong willpower. She will leave no stone unturned. She really yearns and seeks for deep, deep, deep connection, and loyalty and trust are extremely important factors for Venus in Scorpio. You can go through your entire life knowing a Venus in Scorpio person and not really knowing anything about them, and that would simply be because they don't trust you. That's just the nature of Venus in Scorpio. But if Venus in Scorpio establishes trust with something or a person, then the Venus in Scorpio, that traditional conventional line, till death do us part, relative to conventional marriage, well, that line is completely and utterly connected to Venus in Scorpio, to death do us part, right? That is the nature of Venus in Scorpio. It's all or nothing. She's in or she's out. She's not fleeting. She's not indecisive. She's not floating around here and there. She's either in or she's out. It's as simple as that. She can be very black and white in that way, in the sense of that's one of the hallmarks of Scorpio. It's either in or it's out. It's all or it's nothing. It's to the death, or it's completely not there at all. This is the sort of frequency we're kind of stepping into. Okay. The desire is to penetrate very deeply into the psyche of the people in our life, for instance, whether that's in our own personal relationship or our friendships. There's a sense of wanting to become closer, if you like, connect more deeply, figure out who you trust, who you don't trust. Now, trust is a really big thing, because the matter of betrayal is an extremely significant theme, if you like, through the archetype of Scorpio. And so the matter of trust, loyalty, and betrayal are very big themes. And it seems at the moment that because of the incredible division that is going on the earth plane, largely due to the program, the paradigm that's being projected, which is unfortunately causing a lot of division between families, friends, lovers, you name it. And it's a very hard, a very difficult journey to delicately and sensitively negotiate. And especially, when it comes to Venus in Scorpio, it's cutthroat. It's literally cutthroat. It's either you are loyal to me, I am loyal to you, or it's goodbye. And you can't bullshit a Venus in Scorpio. Okay, it's just not really possible. Okay, the Venus in Scorpio, as I said, she's got X-ray vision. She's got one of the best bullshit detectors. Okay, and she's not interested in the superficial components of what one might be presenting or sharing. She wants to know what your soul is all about. She wants to know what your soul looks like, what your soul feels like. This is the territory we're going into. So there are a lot of those themes that will come up very strongly in people. There's also, of course, the matters of being suspicious of others. A Venus in Scorpio is naturally suspicious of everyone until proven otherwise. So given the nature of events and what's going on around us, a lot of people are feeling very torn about what to trust, what to believe, very suspicious of this, very suspicious of that, and rightly so, as a matter of fact, at the moment, given the level of what I would call fabricated information, or false information, or inaccurate, incorrect information that's being offered through consensus reality. That's not an opinion, that's just what's happening. You can always go to the other side and have a listen to the other side, which is everything else that's censored. And I'm not saying that everything on that side is 100% accurate either. That's something that we each need to discern for ourselves. But one thing about Venus in Scorpio, because Scorpio corresponds to instincts, as does Aries for that matter, and that's largely because they are both ruled by the planet Mars. However, Pluto also rules Scorpio, particularly in evolutionary astrology. So the matter of trusting our gut instinct, okay, while Venus is in Scorpio, is one of the greatest gifts that she offers us through her journey into Scorpio. Trusting your gut instinct. Forget about what your left linear brain is telling you. Forget about the garbage information that's being spewed out left, right, and center. What does your gut instinct tell you about any given situation that's arising before you at this time in your life? What does your gut tell you? That's what you need to really pay attention to. Because when we don't employ our instincts, when we don't employ our intuition, which is right brain, expansion, seeing the bigger picture, we remain at the left linear mind. And that is very much a Saturn state, which is limited, confined, restricted, it contracts. Saturn contracts, it shrinks things, it makes things smaller. That's why as we grow old, even our body shrinks, because Saturn rules our body. Saturn rules the skin, which is the largest organ in the body, on the body, of the body. And as we grow, what happens to our skin? It shrinks, it wrinkles. So I've just lost my next point there. Talking about, I think I was talking, loyalty, instincts. Thank you. Instincts. We have to trust our instincts on any matter before us at the moment. What we choose to step into, the choices that we make. It is our responsibility and our duty to be informed. It's no excuse to turn around and say, well, that's what they told me to do. That's what that particular organization said I have to do. That's what everybody else is doing. Well, I mean, that's, clearly that's just consensus state, right? So you either want to be a part of that or you don't. It's entirely up to you. But it's no use later saying that, I just did what everybody else was doing. We need to get back in touch with ourselves, our free, sovereign, infinite self, and trust our instincts. And Venus in Scorpio helps us do that. We need to stay really aligned with the Scorpio archetype from the point of view of, because there are some shady sides to the Scorpio as well, which can bring up things like obsession, paranoia, suspicion of everything and everyone. And that can work against us. So we're kind of, we need to have some kind of balance there as well, which is the beauty of Libra, of course. But Venus in Scorpio is going to help us dive very deeply into whatever is going on in our life at the moment, especially around what we really love and care about. And what are our own real values about where we are placed at the moment? What's really important to us? The underworld journey, with Venus and Scorpio, it reminds me quite a lot of Persephone's descent into the underworld. Persephone being the daughter of Ceres and ultimately becoming the wife of Pluto, who was in the most popular version of the story, was abducted by Pluto into the underworld, and Ceres mourned and was grieving the loss of her daughter. But at the end of the day, Persephone chose to eat the seed of the pomegranate while she was in the underworld, whilst her mother told her, specifically instructed her, to not accept anything from Hades, from Pluto in the underworld, in order to keep her pure. But Persephone chose to ingest this seed because she wanted to have her own experiences and she wanted to transform. And thus, the journey of Pluto and Hades and the underworld and anything that takes us into that underworld, it is to assist our evolution, basically. Otherwise, we can just remain with blinkers on and not dare to look at anything else, not dare to look at what is forbidden, what is occult, what is hidden, what is not accepted. God forbid I open myself up to any of that. Who knows what's lurking behind that corridor? That dark, by the way, dark alleys are ruled by Scorpio. Dark corridors are ruled by Scorpio. We can't go into this underworld experience by not being prepared to die to something we have either developed, embraced, is imprinted, fear, suppressed, that is unconscious, whatever it is, all those things. When you're talking about Scorpio and Venus in Scorpio, she zooms right into the depths of your soul. She activates the soul's desires and intentions, and she smashes through the false structures, the false ideologies, the false perceptions, the limiting ones. It is very risky to go into the underworld, which is your own unconscious, basically. 80% or more of how we operate is motivated by the unconscious components within us, which is that underworld. And we don't have access to all of that all the time, because if we did, we'd probably be completely insane and not able to function because there's too much material there. So through each life, as we evolve and as we grow and as we develop, we have moments or periods where we tap into or open up to material that's residing in our unconscious. So a journey with Venus in Scorpio most certainly provides that pathway, if we so choose, to open ourselves up to the divine, beautiful goddess who goes through a death rebirth process herself every time she goes retrograde and disappears and kisses and meets the sun, which is the star point that happens every 9 months or so. So, and the other interesting thing that I noticed as well is that this Venus in Scorpio, which is her rulers are Mars and Pluto, because Mars and Pluto both rule Scorpio. And the upcoming Venus star point, which takes place very soon, it's just January of next year. January of next year is literally around the corner. And by the way, I will be meeting with Ariel Gutman to discuss the next Venus star point. So I'm really very, very excited about that and can't wait to share that with you guys. And that will be in a couple of months' time. But I was thinking about Venus's journey through Scorpio from the point of view of that next Venus star point, which is when Venus will go retrograde, which is her journey into the underworld. And so I see this Venus in Scorpio journey being connected to that star point, because that Capricorn Venus star point, which occurs in January, will be conjunct Pluto. It's at 18, almost 19 degrees of Capricorn, the Venus retrograde, January 2022, which is a Venus star point. And Pluto, as you can see, is 24 degrees. So that next Venus star point is going to not only pick up Pluto, but it's going to speak through Pluto. And given Pluto is a planet that rules Scorpio, and Venus at the moment, we could say that she is journeying through the zodiac and basically preparing herself to go retrograde, meaning into the underworld. And Venus in Scorpio is a journey of the underworld unto itself as well. So, and Ariel gives an orb of 2 to 3 months of activation of these star points. So it's happening in January, and we are now 10th, 11th of September, October, November, December. So we're really starting to gear up towards the energy of that Venus star point in Capricorn activating slowly. So I just make the connection between Venus and Scorpio taking us through a deep personal transformative journey where we are able to look at our own dark shadow material, to look at our own personal limitations, our fears. We all have them. Nobody can say they don't. We all have them in different ways. And every time Venus goes into Scorpio, she enables us to go through some journey with those kind of matters that exist within us. So yeah, I just feel that this Venus in Scorpio is more pronounced this year because, as I said, Venus goes into Scorpio every year, right? This year, however, she's more pronounced because she's in Scorpio a couple of months before the Venus star point in Capricorn, which will be conjunct Pluto. She's also picking up at a more sort of short-term basis. She's picking up the square to Saturn, the opposition to Uranus. And whilst that's only activated, well, it starts 17th of September, and we could say it sort of starts maybe, 16th. And we could say that this energy of Venus, Saturn, Venus, Uranus is really active from 16th of September to say 24th of September or 23rd. So that's, 6-7 days, right? That's not a long time in our life, but it is a significant amount of time and an important time relative to Venus's journey in Scorpio, because the most obvious and challenging planetary theme that's speaking through humanity at the moment is the Saturn square Uranus. And so here's what I think it's going to point to when it happens during 17th to 23rd of September, because Venus corresponds to our own values. And think about it, right? Because our own worth, our own value is larger than what we think, because we may tend to ascribe that to what we learned from our family and our upbringing. And if our worth wasn't nurtured, okay, and that we weren't fed back to us that we are worthy, we are worthy of our essential sovereignty, freedom. We are worthy of being loved and giving love. If these things were not integrated into our beingness, into our psyche, we've had all these other experiences going on, then it seems to be perhaps that you may get swayed in particular directions that don't really match your true worth, because you're not in tune with your true worth. You're not aware of it. You doubt it, things like that, right? And Venus in Scorpio is also the value in what we give very intensely and how we love very intensely in our life. So, and those of you who have Venus in Scorpio are having a Venus return. So these themes will be coming up really acutely in your experience, over the next few weeks. These are the things that are that they will just be more pronounced in your psyche, in your mind, in your awareness, in your reality, in what you are focused on, right? Venus in Scorpio, if we are in a relationship, obviously it draws in the whole experience of what our relationship looks like at the moment. Where are we in this relationship? And it can be a great time to transform things in your relationship as well. It might be that you want to transform certain things about yourself that are healthy for this relationship. It might be that you and your partner decide to do some work together. Perfect time to go and have psychotherapy, counseling, engage in psychodrama, have an astrology reading, have a relationship astrology reading, get to the truth and the heart and core of who you both are and who you both are in this relationship. These are the things that can be worked with. It's a very intense, passionate, real type of energy. There's no fluffing around and stuffing around and bullshitting with Venus in Scorpio. You get to the core, you get to the essence, and you look straight dead on into whatever it is that's looking back at you. I've got a Venus Scorpio star point in when I was born. So even though that's a very different thing to a natal Venus, I resonate very strongly with the Venus and Scorpio energy, okay, because it's the head of my pentagram. And by the way, going back to that card, the pentagram, I did say this, the pentagram, which is 5 points, it's the Venus star points that all, line up. I think I did say that in the beginning, I've just forgotten. So that these are the sorts of themes we are looking at over the next few weeks. And I was just saying that if you're in a relationship, those are the sorts of things that are there as a potential, as a possibility. It can also be the ending. It can be the ending of something within the relationship, and you're giving birth to something totally new in the relationship. That could be based on certain arrangements and agreements and the way you guys do things together. You don't want to do this anymore. Let's try this. Let's completely get rid of that. That just doesn't work. Just some simple examples. If you're not in a relationship, then this is your own very personal, investigative, transformative time of purging and clearing and clearing dense, toxic, negative energies out of your life, and becoming more clear on what you actually really want in your life and want around you, what you really truly value. I think a lot of people are confronted in their life at the moment with what's really valuable at the end of the day, because there are so many matters that have been compromised or removed, or coerced, or whatever it may be. A lot of people are left questioning life from the level of, okay, what's really worthy now? I mean, what have I been sort of focusing my energy and my attention on? What have I been pouring my energy into? And given the way things are and the way things are heading, what's really going to be valuable for me to work on? What's really going to bring worth and true value in my heart and my soul with the choice and the path that I take? What does that look like? What does that feel like? This is the chance to really work on this with Venus in Scorpio. So whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, all of that is on the table. And if you're in a relationship, you're still going to go through your own individual personal journey of Venus in Scorpio as well. And it is a time to examine very deeply where you stand. It is a time to, cut losses and cut the bullshit out and be very, very honest. Now, I'm not saying any of this is easy to do, but what I am saying is that it's there on the table if this is something that calls you and speaks to you. And this is going to be a very important time the next 4 weeks, because in a couple of months after that, we're going to have Venus going retrograde, the Venus star point in Capricorn, and that's going to be a hugely important time on the planet, which I will talk about that with Ariel Gutman when we do our show together. But it's also going to be extremely powerful for us personally and individually relative to where that Venus star point lands in our chart. And of course, that will be wherever 18, 19 degrees of Capricorn is. Now, I personally feel this star point already because it's exactly conjunct my Mars. So there are things in the workings, in the pipelines already with me, and I'm not going to disclose what they are because they are huge decisions that I'm going to be making about my own life. But I can tell you this, that even with the new moon in Virgo, which is why I posted something the other day asking everybody, how's the new moon in Virgo unfolding for you guys thus far? It was a new moon. It was only a few days ago, so we still don't know what that's going to look like till we get to the full moon and then the end of the cycle as well, till we come back to the next new moon, okay, which I think is... next new moon is in Libra conjunct Mars from memory. Okay, so that's we'll talk about that later on because that's pretty interesting. But for example, I've deleted 700 people from my Facebook account. That's my private Facebook account, not my professional Facebook account. And I've got a lot more to go. Because I've got over 5,000 people on my list, people I don't even know. And so this is me working with Moon in Virgo, clearing, eliminating. Virgo eliminates, right? Remember, Virgo is equivalent to the inconjunct aspect. It's about eliminating what doesn't work. What's useful? Why would you have this in your life if it's not serving any purpose and it's not useful? What's the point? Virgo eliminates junk, crap, shit out of your life. It corresponds to the intestines in the stomach that discriminate what nutrients the body shall keep in order for you to heal and to function and breathe and sleep and eat, etc. And it discards all the toxins out of your body that you ingest knowingly or unknowingly. So Virgo is the archetype that helps us eliminate the shit out of life, literally. And so we've started with that new moon energy, and here now, just a few days later, we've got Venus going into Scorpio. That's just an amplification of this transformative process and journey in our life. Because going back to the question I asked before, what really matters at the end of the day in life, given the narrative at the moment, what really matters? Is it your $50,000 car, or is it being able to be with the person that you really love? And so we are exploring, evaluating Venus, what's really important to us, that moves our soul, breathes our soul, touches our soul, connects to our soul. That's what this is about. If you want some surface level takeaways of Venus in Scorpio, as I said before, with Vesta ingressing into Scorpio as well, it is about shared resources. So that could be an area that's very important in your life as well. And I'm not saying that that's not important. Everything's important relative to the individual. The point is, though, that we decide and discern. And discern is a very, very, very good word for Venus in Scorpio, because she has the ability to discern from what's real, what's truthful, and what isn't. So I implore you to embrace this beautiful goddess in Scorpio and get in deeply in contact and in touch with components of your own stuff that you resist to look at, fear to look at, are unaware of. Take that plunge, take that journey, allow her to hold your hand and take you into those deep, deep, deep waters of your soul. Because it is there that you will find what you actually need, what you truly, truly need. And I'm not talking about the material world. The material world has its place. It is what it is. It serves its purpose. And I'm not talking about Mother Earth when I say that. I'm talking about man-made products, jobs, money, houses, cars, whatever, right? But this is about really getting to the soul in the heart, and the soul that is you, and standing in that, knowing who you are and what you stand for, and also confronting any types of uncomfortable, fearful type of themes or things. So here's what's going to happen when she squares Saturn and opposes Uranus. Everything that I just said, amplify that and filter it through Saturn and Uranus. So the Saturn is always about contraction, limitation, patience, waiting, and certainly not being able to push forward. So there's a sense of really extreme frustration for Venus while she's in Scorpio squaring Saturn. She will feel a great sense of, best word is limitation, okay? But the most useful thing to recognize about the Venus squaring the Saturn is relative to my values, Venus, the people that I love, the things that I love deeply, what's important to my soul. Well, what is it that I basically need to be able to see beyond the nature of reality, Saturn? How can I penetrate beyond the very dense reality, which is masked at the moment by this face of fear, a fake face of fear? How can I penetrate beyond that through my third eye, intuition, instincts, soul, heart? How can I penetrate beyond that? Because the Saturn will appear as that boundary which is literally suffocating, especially because of the narrative that's playing out at the moment. There are healthy expressions of Saturn, absolutely. We are just seeing the worst unconscious extremes of Saturn playing out collectively at the moment. That's what we are seeing. But you need to think about this from your own self and your own life and what's going on in your life and where you stand with it all. because a few days later she's going to oppose Uranus, and that's going to be that urge for wanting to completely break free of the shackles. Saturn rules shackles. Uranus rules breaking free of the shackles. But the fact is that Saturn and Uranus are square each other, so she's picking up the tension of the square. In other words, Venus is feeling the tension of wanting to love and be free in that love, Venus Uranus, but totally feeling dictated to or confined or restricted by the dictatorship of Saturn. And a perfect example of that I can give right here, right now, based on my location, would be that I can't even go and see my two brothers, and they just live down the road from me, and I haven't seen them in months. And Venus doesn't necessarily connect to siblings, but Venus does connect to the people that you love. So that's my version of Saturn in one example. I've got hundreds of examples of how I'm feeling Saturn, at the moment, and not only me, the entire country. But there's an example of Saturn holding us in a particular line. And so whilst this is an ongoing occurrence, when Venus is in Scorpio and she meets up to that square to Saturn and that opposition to Uranus, these dynamics are going to be experienced in a very visceral way, because Venus is in Scorpio. That's a visceral energy. That's intense. It's feeling it very deeply. So it's a more pronounced, that the theme becomes more pronounced, if you like. And we are still in lockdown in this country. And there is no end in sight. So this is what's going to be, fairly pronounced and triggered when Venus gets to those aspects, which is, as I said, from the 16th, 17th September till 23rd, 24th of September. Okay. On the 30th of September, let me just clear. Okay, so let me just first show you. So there's the square, okay? Venus, 7 Scorpio, Saturn, 7 Aquarius. As I said, 17th of September, 16th for Northern Hemisphere. That energy is going to be active, however, right through till 23rd, 24th of September, because as Venus proceeds forward, she picks up the opposition to Uranus, which is around here, 23rd of September. And so she's held by that energy, okay, for that week. She's literally held by that energy. The Uranus is not a problem. It can be challenging because Uranus is not about commitment and it's not about the conventional, stable relationship. But I think Venus will sort of revel or relish in the Uranian opposition, because it gives her a sense of that taste and sense and desire of freedom and being authentic in where she stands in her position relative to what she values from the deepest depths of her soul. Uranus is always authenticity. So as we continue forward, around about, and I've missed some other aspects. She's making aspects to a few other things, but I'm just sort of focusing on the major ones, okay? Around here, there's a really nice trine she picks up to Neptune. I really like this aspect. This is the complete opposite of everything that I've talked about with Uranus and Saturn, for instance. And, Venus, Neptune, it can be rose-colored glasses and completely idealistic about a person, a relationship, or a money matter. Just something you buy. You buy something online, it looks so beautiful under the Venus-Neptune transit, it comes to your home and it doesn't look anything like what you bought online. And that's a very typical occurrence. I'm an online shopper and I've had that happen. This is just a very superficial example that I'm giving, okay? On a more esoteric spiritual level, this is a beautiful energy for spiritual integration with divinity, source. So a good example to that would be an awesome time, that date there, 30th of September to, it'll be 29th of September, Northern Hemisphere. That's a beautiful alignment and frequency for deep meditative practice. It's a beautiful time for creativity and music and lovemaking as well. It is all of that. But if you do this, if you practice, if you watch the movement of the celestial bodies and you pick days and times that an energy sort of aligns and describes the potential outcome you're looking for through what you choose to do, you will find that it does actually work. It's called elective astrology. You elect a moment in time to do something in particular. Why? Because the energies are completely resonant with what you are looking for to experience, or the outcome of the experience, right? So Venus, Neptune, to engage in a very specific, purposeful, meditative, spirit, soul, divine evoking practice, there's amazing beauty and experience that can come out of that, right? So that's how I would utilize that energy. And then just to kind of finish up, we have Venus at 24 Scorpio by the 2nd of October, forming a sextile to Pluto. I love this aspect. I love it. First of all, Pluto rules Scorpio. Venus and Pluto come to a sextile aspect, which is a harmonious aspect. Harmonious meaning energy flows, right? In very specific and traditional terms, however, the sextile aspect translates to opportunity. And the opportunity with Venus-Pluto would be around matters of love, money, relationships, friendships, connections you make with important people. And just an opportune time or an opportunity can be there for you at this time. I'm not saying this day and this aspect is enough to necessarily produce that experience for every single soul on the planet. I don't know every single soul on the planet, and I don't know every single soul's chart. My point is that frequently when you have an aspect like this, for example, which is not an emphasized aspect such as the Saturn Uranus is, which is in place all year. So Venus picking up Saturn and Uranus is huge, because that aspect is a theme that's active all year, and we've seen what the outcome is so thus far. So the Venus Scorpio sextile, it's not the same. It's not as pronounced. And so therefore you would need to kind of look back at your own chart and think about, well, what's Pluto doing to your own Venus in your chart, for instance? That will speak more to how this particular very small window of opportunity will perhaps reveal itself to you. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. And just finally as well, with Venus in Scorpio, Scorpio is the archetype that corresponds to the will forces, willpower. So in amongst everything that I've touched on, think about that as well. Think about the power of your own willpower and activating that more where you might need to at the moment for very specific purposes, whether that's for a very private, personal, transformative journey that you are consciously and purposefully undertaking, or whether that's to assist you in very important decisions and choice making in your life at the moment relative to the current narrative that's going on. Scorpio gives us that will. It's the will that can push through anything. Nothing can stop it. Scorpio willpower, Pluto willpower, is the most determined force and power, and nothing can stop it. So think about that for yourself and how you might tap into that. Right. I think I will leave it here. Let me see. Yeah, I'm done. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it gives you some pointers, some things to consider. Leave your comments and questions below and share your stories as well. Let me know how you go with the Venus and Scorpio, over the next 4 weeks. Let me know what it brings up for you. Those of you who have Venus and Scorpio probably won't, but all those Venus and Scorpios, they're all going to sort of come out of the closet at the moment, because that energy is just so boom. It's going to light up like a Christmas tree inside you. It's yeah. So a lot. Oh, and just one final thing, because Scorpio being ruled by Pluto corresponds to uncovering what's hidden. I believe that Venus in Scorpio will also be a contributing factor to uncovering things that have been hidden in some way connecting to law. Now, Venus is not necessarily a planet that connects to law, okay? That would be more Saturn, especially man-made law. But from the level of Venus being the natural ruler of Libra, which is an archetype that corresponds to law, and also Venus in Libra and Venus alone corresponds to fairness and justice and equality, then through Scorpio, I believe that she will expose many hidden things, although so much is being exposed already. But perhaps this is going to take it up a notch, going to take it up to another level that needs to be presented and seen. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, see you guys very, very soon. I'm just looking for my mouse here to end my video. See you guys soon, and look forward to reading your comments, sending you much love, and bye for now.